Welcome to Chronic Illness Day, I don't know what day. I've had a good few days of not doing it because, I don't know, been feeling a bit low here and there. I've had some very heavy treatment going on, and social things have been pretty difficult, so yeah, I've had quite a few days off, and once you stop the momentum with something, it kind of, you lose the momentum. But I hope to get back into it now. It's pretty rewarding doing it. Also quite vulnerable, but that's sort of the point. So I'm going to lean into that, as they say. Today I want to talk about the sort of dynamics of invisible illness. How sort of tragic and private and unacknowledged it is when your illness is so invisible. You may be somebody who has some outward signs of illness, or you may not be. I think a lot of the ME community seems to would call it their own thing, invisible illness. But yeah, I feel like this personal tragedy and sort of sadness about, not sort of sadness, just a lot of sadness about I have this suspected fungal infection living in my chest, and so for all these years, my capacities as myself, my ability to form my own words, my ability to be socially present in the way that I can be, ability to have my own intelligence, my own humour, my own confidence, all of that's been really reduced or completely lacking. It was funny, I was walking back from somewhere earlier towards my house, and I was doing the thing that I always do, which is like the neighbour slalom, which is like, I look around the corner to check whether our house is at the top of our road, and there are sort of 2 or 3 doors I have to get past to get to our house, and I always sort of check, is there anybody looking like they're coming out? No, quick, get in. The social anxiety does that to me. I have to avoid people. My worst experience, this is only when I'm really bad. Well, this is only when I'm bad. Sometimes I have good days and I don't feel like this, but one of my most cringe-worthy experiences is bumping into a neighbour next door, and just the brain seizes up, the anxiety floods me, and I just usually say something awkward and probably present as quite threatened, and usually it goes really awkwardly, and then I have a toe-curling, traumatised feeling for ages afterwards, just like, oh no, not again. Oh, not again. So that's what that's like. I know at better times it's not like that. I know that at better times, when the anxiety isn't as present, you come across somebody, a neighbour, and you just talk to them, or you don't, and it's no big deal, and you move on. But for whatever reason, when I'm in these kinds of states, it's just a really threatening thing. But what I was saying was, I haven't really been able to be myself for years, like years and years and years. And I have, symptoms in my chest most of the time. Changes a lot with the treatment I take, or the treatment I don't take. And that's another dimension of this. Like, the feelings change so much and can be so subtle sometimes. Sometimes they're totally not there. A lot of times they feel different. Sometimes they feel very flaring. It's just, it sends you a bit mad trying to interpret it. It sends you absolutely mad trying to interpret what's going on. I form narratives anyway. I'm just like, okay, so the fungus is probably in more of a die-off mode because my treatment's been heavy, or maybe it's gone into that mode where it's getting used to the current treatment, so probably I have to cycle it. And I probably feel so dead-headed and inarticulate, and I've got the rashes because of die-off, because of the intensity of the treatment, so I need to add in some more liver helpers and some more sauna. And I do form the narratives and I do form plans around it, but it's such a faltering process. I have no idea really what the fuck's going on in there, and it's really, really, really... it just sends you to a place beyond frustration, like where you've kind of worn out the place in your head of feeling frustrated about it, and you just feel more of a sort of deep grieving sadness, trauma about it, because it's like when you repeatedly try to fix a problem, like repeatedly for years, and you can't fix it. The psychological and you can't fix it, and the impact of that, the impact of not being able to fix it is not being able to have yourself available in your social life or in your whole life, in your work life. The consequences of not doing it are dire, and you haven't been able to do it. Just it's hard to describe the psychological impact of it. At the same time as having said all that, there are times when I don't reach it, but there are times when I get touched by a state of grace about it, where it can be a little bit like, okay, these are the features and the factors of my existence. What helps optimize it? If I can't fix it, what just helps optimize it? I know that being very disciplined with sleep, and some exercise and diet, and practices like Qigong and meditation, I know they do bring my level up every time. So sometimes I go into that state of grace, but then most of the time it's just, I'm desperate to have my brain back. I'm desperate to have it back. It's most of my life. I mean, not having your brain available is a tragedy for all of us. But I feel like my identity also is so built around being intellectual and being able to be... I don't know, my thoughts and my words are so central to what I am. It's just so tragic in a really personal way to not have full access to them, and then to watch the consequences of that in my life. I've watched friendships die. I've watched people I know I would be good friends with I've watched the relationship be a non-starter, or I've been outright rejected quite a few times. There are people in my life now who I sort of know and I have a bit of contact with, and I just know that if they could see me at my actual self, we'd have a much stronger relationship than we do, and they'd be giving me much more goodwill than they are. I have to sit, I think I've said this before, I sit on the sidelines and I watch my own potential and capacities not play out, and it's hard to even describe. Anyway, that's all pretty heavy, maybe. I want to say one last thing. Sometimes I've thought to myself that this kind of chronic illness is probably your type of chronic illness too. Chronic illness itself can be like a living death. That's actually probably a good description of it, a living death. Because you're alive, you wake up each day, you need to eat, you need to poo, you need social contact, you need all the things that a human needs, but you've got all these things inside, nagging, giving you pain, giving you pressure, giving you your legs not working, your brain not working, your energy not working. It's so tragic that it's invisible, isn't it? It's just so tragic that nobody around can feel it. They can't see the shape of it, the colour of it, they can't touch it in any way, so it can't touch their nervous systems. They can only sort of understand it via your words, and they never really do, unless they've experienced something like it. They never really do. So yeah. Quick shout out to Phoebe Hill for her infographic on the Lake of chronic illness. That is really, really good. She seems to have... Oh, my eyes go funny when I put my glasses on. Oh, my eye goes wonky. That's a really good infographic. So on the cake, there's... At the top, the cherry on the top is being misunderstood by doctors, friends and family. And then the top layer is boredom. There's feeling low, feeling guilty, loneliness, feeling unattractive, being your own advocate, loss of identity, grief, and the illness itself. That is such a perfect splitting out of the aspects. Well done, Phoebe. That loss of identity bit really sticks with me, not being able to do the things that give you a sense of self. That's a big one, isn't it? That is such a big one. Like, a sense of self. Your self comes from your social identity. What you get back from your social life, it comes from your activities and work and spiritual life. And there's all of these things that you're not able to practice and you're not really able to function in. That loss of self thing is a very hard thing to describe. I experience it socially, where what happens? I experience it when I'm asked what I'm up to or how I am, or when I'm asked questions about my identity. When I'm asked how I am, I have this panic, or what I've been up to, because I have this panic because I don't have that much to report. I don't have that much that I've said, that I've done recently. That's like headline acts to report, like headlines to report to people. Oh, I've been on holiday. Oh, me and my girlfriend are doing this. So I sort of experience it there, but also I think I would have been a guitarist by now and an actor and all kinds of other stuff which I used to be into. Pillars of your identity just go and fall in chronic illness because you can't keep them up, you can't keep the engagement up. That's enough. 12 minutes, 13 minutes. See you tomorrow.